Welcome to the Ideal Investor Show. This is the podcast where we help you challenge your mindset and discover where you are. Tired of stories about other people's success? We can help you change your life, determine your time freedom point, and join us on the journey to financial success. Let's go. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Ideal Investor Show, where we bring you interesting guests, often focused on how we can make money, how we can develop passive income, how we can reach our time freedom point. But today we want to deviate a little bit from that, because so many times we run into people who look for help, not so much or not exclusively for money, but for other reasons. And we have a fabulous guest for that. We have Tassos Kotzias with us today. And he is an expert in that. So Tassos, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Axel. Thank you. Thank you for your welcome. And I'm excited to have this podcast with you today. And let's see how we can bring some value to your audience.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really looking forward to that. And as we can see in your background, for those of us who listen to the conversation on podcast, Tassos has like the International Coaching Federation Professional Coaches logo and all kinds of other really cool certification logos in the background. So tell me, how did you get into this whole heart-based coaching approach, Tassos?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for asking. So it was a long journey, because like a lot of people, I started my career being a corporate executive for many years, for over 25 years. So I went through all these craziness, I would say, right, and stressful situations and last minute things, popping up, and all these crazy requests and crazy demands, from bosses or colleagues or different kind of people, stakeholders, let's say, on a different levels. So now growing up slowly in the last years, as you know, I'm here in Qatar and my family is here in Qatar. So I started shifting my career to holistic coaching. And this is how I came to the realization that coaching can be very, very impactful to many people, because I was there. So I was living the same thing, the same routine, the same stress during this within these corporate environments. So I said, yeah, why not? If I can serve and if I can bring some impact to these people, women and men, going through these stressful situations and overwhelm, and bring some balance back to your life, why not? Let me try that. And you know what? I try to do this for myself, first of all, right? Because this is where it's coming from. Because I need to be, as we say, I need to walk the talk. Otherwise, I cannot be the one inspiring other people, right? And try to guide the other people to this path. So yeah, slowly in Qatar here, I started doing this shift to holistic coaching. I started being a Kung Fu practitioner and Kung Fu martial artist. I started with a lot of meditation, a lot of different kind of energy practices, internal and external energy practices, especially through the couple of years, more or less, of COVID. And that helped me a lot, because I really invested a lot of time and a lot of energy of mine into this growth, personal growth, and into this path.
Okay, yeah, wonderful. So you mentioned that you are in Qatar. Can you tell us a little bit how broad the distribution of your clients is?
Yes, I have clients from Europe. I have clients from Qatar, of course, here in the Middle East, the United Arab Emirates, and also a couple of clients in the US, because now I'm starting slowly to enter the US market, Canada, United Kingdom, Ireland, Australia, etc. Because it's really international world. As you know, coaching is for everyone. And I'm also living here in Qatar with 50 maybe different nationalities around me. Our kids go to school with literally 50 different nationalities. So I don't see any really barrier or any obstacle at all expanding the business like this.
Yeah, and I can relate. I mean, I speak English and German, and I'm starting to learn a little bit more other language. I used to speak a little bit of French, but I forgot all of it. So, but how about you? So is your focus mainly on English-speaking regions and people, or other languages too?
Mainly English speaking, of course, Greek, which is my mother tongue, right? But mainly English speaking. I speak Italian as well. I speak French. I speak a little bit of Arabic, being so
Oh,
many
okay.
years in Qatar, but this all, but this also a bit of Spanish. But these four languages are not really. I'm not so capable yet to practice really coaching around that. But slowly, slowly, I will get there as well.
Absolutely. That's what I'm finding when you spend time. I mean, when I first came to the United States with the military, even though we had English training and we were using English while flying the planes and stuff, but being on the ground
Mhm.
and really living in the community, I'm sure, living in Qatar for a while, you just start picking up Arabic words and maybe even some others as well. I
Yeah.
have two other things I want to touch on because I just find them fascinating and interesting, especially because, having spent the last 30 years in the United States, where I
Mhm.
would actually probably think it's harder. But I saw on your website that you have, I wouldn't say a little bit of an emphasis. And I mean this in the best of ways, but pointing
Mhm.
out that you offer coaching to women. How did that happen and where does that come from?
Yes, thank you for that. Yes, actually, I saw that. I had, let's say, an instinctive, um, how can I say, attraction, if I can say this, to helping women and supporting women when I was in the really my corporate years, and this because women were coming to me and they were just opening up to me, sharing things, and I would listen to them, and they were asking for advice about how to manage a relationship with a boss. I mean, a business relationship with a boss or a
Yeah,
colleague, something that was really challenging for them or stressful. And I would just, hear them out. I would listen to them carefully. I would try to give them some small advice, from the male perspective, let's say, because as you know, it's still a lot of environment. They are still male dominated. So women that they are here have really a passion for their career and really want to grow and they really want to expand personally or professionally, they need to also to understand a little bit of the male perspective in order to be able to succeed in their goals. So I saw that let's say need, and I saw that also I could serve them and create impact, and then this is how the magic started to happen. So yes, I'm focusing primarily to women because I feel that I can help them and support them. But at the same time, I have a lot of male clients because apparently I can inspire them a lot with my experiences, and I can inspire them with my skills or my expertise, and the different stuff that I've done throughout my life.
okay, yeah, that's very cool. Now, would you say there are any particular topics where you, from your perspective and experience, are, like really good and other or a good person to be helping versus other topics where you would say that is probably where a female coach would be better? Is there any kind of distinction in that sense by what
You know
things?
what? Coaching. I will tell you, coaching is very also subjective,
Right,
because first of all, the coachee, as we say, the client needs to be coachable,
right.
so ready to be coached, and at the same time, you need to build a rapport. You need to build a trust and safe relationship between the coach and the coachee. And I think this is something that I let's say get positive points out of this, because I think due to my personality and the way I'm I'm used to work with people, and I used to socialize with people. I think confidence and trust is number one, a factor important for me. So in terms of distinction with a woman coach, I think that I can really support women to understand the male perspective when they really have a personal, or they really are struggling in a personal relationship, or they are really struggling in a professional relationship. So I think this is what I can offer really.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And since I mentioned when we started that you're showing the ICF logos and stuff like that, I've always felt, even though I'm also been certified, I haven't really kept the annual or biannual certifications, but I once was ambitious to get them in the first place. And one thing
Mhm.
I found, especially comparing to a few other approaches that I'm also certified for, is that ICF, in my opinion, has a relatively puristic view of how coaching as a methodology and how the actual coaching conversation should look like. Can you maybe tell our audience a little bit how much or how little you're adhering to this more puristic approach, and if not, how you actually do your coaching?
Yeah. Actually, coaching, it's not about ICF. It's about Socrates, the ancient Greek philosopher, right? And with Socrates, right? So
Yeah,
this is
well,
really what
maybe
coach.
you're right, but let me qualify this a little bit for the audience, because it can maybe lead to two people who do coaching all the time kind of starting going down a deep rabbit hole. What I really mean, and I'm totally with you on the Socratic method, but to the point that I think the Socratic method needs a balance in reality, right? If I have, for example, or you in this case, have in your corporate life experienced certain things over and over, and you have developed an understanding of why things happen in certain ways, or how somebody that you coach could and most likely be successful in reacting. I personally, I'm saying this exclusively for me, I'm not claiming you would ever do this, but I find it completely silly to pretend that my coachee has to discover what I already know by him or herself, because Socratically, I'm not supposed or allowed to tell them, hey, this is my experience, this is what I've learned, so I would love to teach you what I learned. Not to say you have to do it that way, but you could learn from that. So that's basically why I always saying I'm basically a duality between coaching and mentoring. That's my,
Exactly. Yes.
right. So
Exactly.
let me qualify that, because I'm a big fan of the Socratic method where it makes sense, but I'm not puristic enough, so they would probably kick me out if they heard me.
Yeah. I totally agree. I get totally where you're coming from, because I have exactly the same mentality like you. So yes, of course, coaching, abide by the book, abide by the International Coaching Federation standards, and all this is great. This is great. This is a great methodology. But yes, you're right, 100%. Also, I see that with my clients very often, a lot of clients want me to share my experience in order to really get the insights they want, and then they can adapt, and then they can adjust, then they can really perform the same task or use this experience as they wish, and as they find it more accommodating for them, and more beneficial for them. So I'm 100% with you on that. Yes, I usually, when I start a coaching relationship with my client, I predefine in the beginning, and I explain to them the differences. And usually we go on, let's say, on a 50-50 approach in a way. So let's say 50% is pure coaching as per the ICF standards, but 50% is also mentoring. It's also mentoring, is guidance, is like it even goes a little bit further, to try to inspire them, to try to motivate them, try, to drag them, to become really the best version of themselves. So not just let them discover it by ourselves, because yes, sometimes this takes time for the client. It takes time to really discover their own insights. So they need a little bit of a push, a gentle push, as I say, to really get going.
No, I understand. And I mean, it's kind of like interesting, since you said that your origin is Greek, right? Like you can do a little bit of Greek Socrates and a little bit of Tasso, the executive, and
Correct.
bring those
I
two.
like that.
And I'm actually
I,
suspecting that when people, especially people in business or women in business and men for that matter, ask themselves, who would I want to be my coach? Yes, there is
Mhm.
probably reputation involved, but I can very well imagine that if you've experienced issues and challenges in your work life, then you would probably want to have a coach who has some idea how work life in a company actually looks like. Even if Socratically it shouldn't matter, but I believe humanistically in the end it does matter if you can credibly empathize or not, right?
I agree. I agree. You're perfectly right. And I really enjoy this trip. I really enjoy all these conversations with my clients, because we go really, really deep into not only personal, but also professional issues. And I understand them 100%, because I was there. I've been there. I've done a lot of things, I've traveled a lot. I've experienced different kind of environments, professional environments all over the world. So I understand, how they can unblock some of their limiting beliefs, how they can unblock really their capabilities and their skills in all aspects of the holistic coaching. Because since we're talking about holistic coaching here, we have to to identify that we're talking about physically, the physical level of well-being and awareness. We're talking about the mental level. We're talking about the emotional level and the spiritual level of well-being or awareness. So this is where I'm coming in to really support them in all these 4 levels for whatever challenge they may have in their lives, either personally or professionally.
Yeah, and I'm a huge fan of this, and I want to tell the audience we didn't plan for this. It just kind of organically happened, but I actually wrote my dissertation about business coaching. And in a nutshell, after all these pages and pages of research, that in a nutshell, what comes out as the result of the study is you cannot really separate a person, but you have to look, just like you beautifully described, see the person holistically. And so that also means you have to address the whole person, the whole history. It doesn't matter whether the initial inclination was I'm experiencing an issue or a challenge in my work life. Ultimately, it can be because of your parenting. It can be because something happened at school. It can be because you said something that others misunderstood. It can be a million different things that started triggering a perception or a behavior. So, like I said, the result of my study was basically it's not business coaching or personal coaching. It's really the holistic approach to the person and the service of the coach to help the person to basically discover a new path. I mean, one of the books that I like, I'm suspecting you like it too, is called Theory U, which basically say you're basically working together to unpack the past and the current reality. And then at the bottom of that letter U, if you imagine you go down the left side, get to the bottom, they call that the eye of the needle, walk through, and
exactly.
then coach is basically the one who helps you to find the new path, the new journey up the right side of the U. And I think that's a fantastic journey and challenge that coaches and coaches face. Now, on your website, you speak specifically about heart coaching or heart-based coaching. And I think it will be valuable for our audience to understand a little bit what you mean by that now that we have established, how we both kind of agree to go about coaching.
Yes, sure. And just before I step into that, I didn't know about your dissertation. That's amazing to hear. I congratulate you on that. It's a great path to go, really. And yes, what you said about the past and the present, as you know very well, we coaches, we support our clients to really look the future and really look how they can be successful in the future, how can be happy in the future. That's where happiness and success have to come together, as you nicely said, and it has to be holistic. Otherwise, it's not possible for this to happen. So going back to a heart coaching methodology of mine, yes, this is a copyright methodology actually that I have developed the last years. And it's actually an acronym. Of course, heart is our organ, right? And it's our emotions and everything. So it's, let's say, heart-based coaching methodology around our emotions. But at the same time, it's an acronym. So heart means H for holistic approach. So first, we need to set up the stage. We need to really help the client and the coachee understand that only if they can really feel and put in their lives and really feel mentally and emotionally and physically and spiritually the holistic approach, only then they can go to the second step of this process, which is the empowerment. Because with the holistic approach, empowerment comes into the game because I'm starting feeling, let's say, more grounded. I'm starting feeling more confident. So in that way, I get the self-empowerment, and slowly, when I start reflecting this self-empowerment out to the world, to the third party, to my social life, my family, my professional network, all of a sudden I started receiving acceptance because first I feel self-accepted through this empowerment. I started being more compassionate for myself. I started going to the journey of really accepting who I am, what are my skills, what are my strengths, what are my weaknesses. And in this way, I get also the external validation through the acceptance of the other people. And this circle fuels this circle of empowerment acceptance fuels basically, the way to reach to the resilience, because once you feel really, really grounded, really, really confident, then you go to the resilient level, which is really how to be able to sustain and face challenges, basically face challenges that are coming on you, and you maybe you never planned around. So this is where consistency and effort comes into place, and resilience. When we build this resilience muscle, then we can really fight anything that's coming and thrown in our plate. And then, of course, the next step and the biggest step is really the real transformation. So it's the T. So we started with a holistic approach, H, empowerment, E, acceptance, A, resilience, R, and transformation, T. Because when you look back and you say, okay, when I started, I was in point A, and now I'm in point B, and you really see the transformation through this coaching journey and through this cooperation, and really by going through and living the hard coaching methodology.
So that's wonderful, and thank you for explaining that. And that also explains why so many people are attracted to it, I'm sure. For the last one, for the transformation part, would you say that is the manifestation of a goal, or basically the starting point of application of what this initial change has established, and now it's basically the transformation is the practice of the new behaviors?
Yes, it could be both. That depends. That depends on the client. For example, yes, one client starts very complicated, very messy, as we say. It's in a messy situation. He or she does not have clarity on what they want to do in their lives. They don't even have clarity. A lot of like me a few years ago, I didn't have clarity who I am. Because first we need to start with who we are. And then we need to go to what we want to achieve, what we want to do. And then we start the other question, which is why and how and all the rest. So some clients can start with this challenging situation that they need to figure out first who they are. And then they find this through the hard coaching methodology, and then they start the transformation. So this is the beginning of the journey, as you said nicely. But other people may start with something really, they know who they are. They even know maybe sometimes what they want to achieve, or they don't know what they want to achieve. So they start going through this methodology, and in the end, transformation comes because they really find their path, and they really know exactly what they want to achieve, and they achieve it through this coaching period. And it can be a small goal, or it can be a big goal, but in the end it doesn't matter, because it's something that really changes them and transforms them to a best version or a better version of themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's basically pretty much the reason why anybody, when you say needs to be ready for coaching, that's basically the thing, right? They have the clear understanding that something has to change, and then use your help to actually establish that change. The last thing I want to ask very quick in the context of this coaching is these letters that you mentioned. Is that like each session is one letter, or is it like how long?
Depends, because depends on the issue and the challenge. And as you very well know, in coaching, sometimes we start with an agreement, a coaching agreement on a specific challenge of someone, of the coachee, but in the process we are discovering other challenges, or maybe some self-limiting beliefs, or some other obstacles, physical, emotional, or mental, or spiritual obstacles that we need to surpass. So maybe we need to go deeper and work on these first, and then go back again to work on over the, let's say, the initial agreement, in order to sort all issues for the coaching. So that depends. So usually how I work, you usually start with around 3 months of coaching, which is on a weekly basis, and we split 2 or 3 sessions for each step. Right. And then accordingly we evaluate in every step. After 2-3 sessions, for let's say for the holistic approach, we evaluate the achievements, we evaluate the wins, we evaluate the challenges, and then we proceed with the next letters, with the next steps of the process.
Yeah, that's very cool. And you said earlier, like people need to be ready for coaching. My question is not, are you ready for coaching? I'm always asking, are you ready for homework? Because the
Yes.
sessions are more like calibration, I would say, in a sense, right? To say, okay, how do we kind of adjust ourselves a little bit now for the next week or two to do your homework? And then we come back and calibrate
Yeah.
again, and we keep doing and recalibrate. So I find that a very fascinating thing. Now, last step is if people are fascinated and say, hey, the way that Tasso does this with the art-based and it all makes sense, it really resonates, how can they get in touch with you?
They get in touch. They can get in touch with me through my website, which is my name. It's tassoskotzias.com. If I could spell it, it would be TASSOSKOTZIAS.com. Also, I have my social media, and of course, they can come. They can get in touch with me, hopefully through your podcast, and and through this episode of ours. Sharing my social links or through your social media, your LinkedIn, etc. So I would be happy, Axel, having said that, I would be happy really to offer to our listeners here a 30 minutes free consultation call. They can go to my website, book a call, and I will be happy really to dive deeper on what is the challenge and how I can serve them and how I can help them and bring some impact to their lives for better, of course.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And all the things you mentioned, the website and social media and stuff, we're going to put that in the show notes so everybody will have an easy time to just click on it and get in touch. And I really want to recommend everybody to go to the website because you can sign up for the newsletter, you can set up a call and all those kind of things all in one place. All right, very good. So very last question, Tassos, I asked that to everybody. It has nothing to do with the podcast directly, and that is, if you had a time machine, you could go anywhere. Not allowed to change the time-space continuum, obviously. We need to preserve the world. But if you had a time machine, where would you go and why?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. I've never thought that very deeply. But now that you're asking, what sometimes I'm, let's say, wondering, how would the world be different if some leaders in the past have taken different decisions? So if I could really influence this, I would be very, very happy to travel, go back in time, let's say the last 200 years. I don't need to go, I think, earlier or older than that, but at least 200 years with with the Industrial Revolution, with all these wars happening, First World War, Second World War. And if I could influence some really dramatic decisions around that, I would be very happy. And at the same time, I would like to go to the future, right, to do exactly the same thing, to see what's happening in 100 years from now, because I'm a father, right, and we are parents and we care for our children. We want to know what will happen to our children in the end. So I would see and say, okay, and if I see some dramatic experience happening there or some really amazing things happening there, I would like to come back and spread the word.
Absolutely.
To the world.
I would say if I had any say in your time machine, I would say only go to the future, because if you change too many decisions, we might have a totally different situation.
Yeah, of course. Of course, I know. Okay.
All right.
But at least we try a little bit.
Yeah, I can see that. I couldn't contain myself either. And I'm pretty sure if any one of us would actually do that, had the chance to do that, and just say, tell me, after a decision was made, what were the main things that guided you to make the decision this way? I'm pretty sure we will most likely be shocked how things that in the long run didn't really make any difference had a huge impact on what people thought they needed to consider to decide this way or that way or so forth. So that's great, and thank you. So, if we ever find that machine, I come on the trip with you, and then we can both.
Great. I will be happy to.
Thank you again for making the time, Tassos. It was a great conversation. And like I said, for the audience, we will put all the information in. So if you like to check out how to coach with Tassos and maybe face some of your challenges, please reach out to him and let him help you.
Thank you, Axel. It was great to be here with you. I'm honored. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.